What's up, guys? Last week I made a video on the top 5 things that I love about the FRS. And don't get me wrong, I love this car. Every time that I take it to the canyons or even just casually drive it, I'm always reminded why I bought this car. It's so much fun, it handles so well, but there are some stuff that I dislike about this car. And having owned it for 2 months or so, I think it's now time to make a video on the top 5 things that I hate about my Scion FRS. A little disclaimer before I start this video. Just like in the last video where I talked about the things that I love about this car, I'm not going to try to do things that you've heard already. Meaning the back seats are too small or the engine is not powerful enough. All those things you've probably heard. So I'm going to try and talk about things that you wouldn't know unless you owned this car, so that I can help you guys make an educated decision if you're considering this car to buy or if you just want to know more about this car. Now, the first thing that I'm going to talk about, and also the biggest thing that I hate about this car, is really something to do with that badge in the front. That little Scion badge right there, yeah, they created the #1 thing that I hate about this car. And that is that it lacks 21st century technology. Now, before you jump to the comments and say, oh, this car was built to be lightweight, it's not supposed to have luxury features and stuff like that, I get that. I really love this car because it's lightweight and because it's so much fun. So I do appreciate the fact that it's stripped of a lot of luxuries and stuff like that to make it a more fun car. But this car in the Japanese market, and really any market that is sold as not a Scion product, has a lot of features that make it better and more 21st century fitting than the Scion FRS behind me. Let me explain. In the Subaru BRZ and the Toyota GT86, which were the counterparts of this car, automatic climate control, automatic daytime running lights that are LED, push to start, all those features were standard. All those features came standard. You didn't have to worry about it. Well, in the BRZ, you could buy the premium, which didn't have those features, but it had an option to jump to get those features for not a lot more money. Scion, on the other hand, sold this car in this exact spec only. But if you wanted to buy one of these cars with all those nice features that should be standard, you have to pay a $5 or $6 grand premium to buy one of their limited edition cars. That may not sound terrible. You may be thinking, well, if you want more, then spend more money. But what annoys me is how the marketing team at Scion took this car, which was an amazing, amazing piece of machinery, and kind of made it cheap, and then used like this marketing BS to make you spend way too much money to get features that should come standard on this car. Maybe it's just a personal preference thing about how I think marketing should be done, but I think that Scion completely effed up this car by making it cheap and having not push to start, not automatic climate control, and daytime running lights that are not LED. I think that those features should have come standard, and instead they stripped it and made you pay way too much money for it. Now, the next thing that I hate about this car is gonna be something that you've heard before, but I really want to stress it. The tires on this car are god awful. They are terrible. Every time I'm going through the canyons, they limit me way more than any other feature on this car. This car can go way faster, handle way better, and take corners way faster if it didn't have these piece of shit wheels. Like, I hate these wheels and tires, and they're definitely the next things that I'm gonna upgrade because I cannot stand them anymore. Also, the fitment of the wheels is just awful when on the car. I mean, the back wheels are in so far from the ending of the fender that when you're looking at the car from a side profile, it looks like you put a wide body on the car but didn't extend the wheels. Like, it looks just terrible. All around, the wheels and tires definitely need a refresh.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, nice car.
Nice car. Nice car. Are you gonna take a picture of me?
That's right.
Yeah. The next thing that I hate about this car is the infotainment system, which is just terrible. Oh my god, it is the least user-friendly infotainment system I've ever had to deal with. It will tell me that I'm playing one song when I'm playing a completely different song. Like, if I'm listening to Skrillex, it's telling me that I'm listening to Chris Brown. How hard is it to know which song is playing when you're plugged into my phone? Also, it's really slow and laggy, and the touchscreen just does not work that well. The infotainment system in this car seems like it would be from like 2006. Like, it's just terrible, and it does not fit 2017 or this car's 2014 production year. Now, the next thing that I hate about this car is something that I think will be brought up in the review of this car that we do in a couple weeks, but until then I'm still going to talk about it here, which would be the blind spots caused by the B and C pillars. When you look over your shoulder in this car, you just see kind of black. Like because of the sloping roofline, you cannot see your blind spots. It's almost required to put blind spot mirrors on this car because the sloping roofline just disables your ability to look in your blind spot. Like it's so bad. And even though the sloping roof gives this car an amazing look, it is a pain in the ass when you're driving. So to fix that, it's really simple. Just buy some blind spot mirrors and you're good. Now, the last thing that I hate about this car is something that I brought up last week that I said I loved, but I'm gonna be more specific. So I said last week that I love the engine of this car because even though it's low power, it's a lot of fun, which is true, and I still totally agree with that. But the torque dip in the engine around 4,000 RPM is super annoying. Like when you're gunning it, you can feel the torque go, like you can feel the legitimate dip. When I was looking at buying this car, I was looking at the specs and the dyno sheets and stuff, and people would always talk about the torque dip, and I thought, like, how bad could it be? You can actually feel it. You can feel the dip in the torque. And even though the engine itself is amazing, and even though it's low power, it's a lot of fun, the torque dip just kind of makes it feel like the engine has a lack of refinement. It feels like if they had really done a lot of research into this car when they were building it, they would have seen that and been like, hey, let's do something about that. But instead they didn't. And just that lack of refinement does annoy me with this car. Overall though, this car is very refined. The shifter's amazing, the engine is so much fun, and the steering is awesome. But that torque dip really does feel like there's a lack of refinement in the tuning of the engine. Of course, just like the blind spots, that is an easy fix. You can just put on new headers, maybe do an 85 tune, and bam, the torque dip's gone, which is something that I'm definitely gonna do. But straight from the factory, the torque dip is just kind of annoying. So I hope that if you're considering an FRS, this video and my last video helped you out on if you really are thinking about buying this car. And if you are thinking about buying this car, I hope this video kind of taught you something that you don't know if you don't own this car. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you guys subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. I'll see you guys next time.